Yo, what's good, fam? Welcome back to Vussy Supreme Traders. It's your boy Vussy Magz, the one and only. And you know what's going on today. It's Analysis Sundays, right? So I'm gonna be dropping an analysis. I don't know what's gonna be on the analysis yet, right? I'm doing the intro to this video because I know in a few minutes time it's gonna get dark outside and I won't be able to shoot an intro for this video. So yeah, I don't know what's gonna be there, but we'll see how it goes, right? So if you're new to the channel, like the video, subscribe, right, so I can keep making such videos for you guys. That lets me know that my videos are making an impact to you guys, right? So leave a subscribe, like the video, comment if you have any video suggestion, or if you just wanna say you appreciate the boy for making the fire drops, right? So man, let's go. So I'm gonna show you the most top-notch charts that are on my watch list. So I have 3 pairs for you guys, right? I have the GBP CAD, I have the USD JPY, and the USD ZAR. So now we're gonna analyze the GBP against the Canadian dollar on the H4 time frame, right? So to get started with this analysis, you're gonna wanna draw a trend line. This trend line is gonna start from the 30th of Jan low, that higher low that we had there, because we had a lower with basically the lowest low that we had there. But for this trend line now, we're gonna draw our trend line starting at the second low, which is a higher low. Then we're gonna join it with the candlestick wick, with the end of the candlestick wick that formed on the 23rd of July, right? So our trend line now is gonna end up looking like this, right? And then, because we know that, listen, our whole purpose of analyzing is so that the trend lines that we're drawing, or any of the price action analysis that we're doing, is supposed to tell us something about what's going on here, right? So bear with me, let me show you the whole picture of what's going on here. So we had our higher low there, right? And then we moved to a higher high. This was our first high, basically. And then now we had a higher high, which was there, right? Then from that higher high, we had a correction before impulse. Because remember, the price moves in 2 waves, basically. We have our impulse, and then we have our correction, which is also called a push and a pull, right? And a push and a pull. So obviously now the market is pulling. So after a pull, we know that a push is gonna come. So look at what happened. This was our reversal, right? So now we know that every time the price makes contact with the trend line, it has to go for a push, or it has to go for a impulse move, right? So how we are able to get a signal from this is by drawing a reversal line starting from there to there. It's gonna look like this, right? So now that we've drawn our reversal line, how you use this as a signal provider is the first candlestick that closes outside or on the other side of this reversal line. That's basically a signal to you that you should buy, right? So obviously this was a signal for us to buy there, and we can use this arrow as an indicator to show us that, yeah, this is where we get our signals, right? So now the price, as you can see, is nowhere next to the trend line, right? It's nowhere next to the trend line. So what we're gonna look to do now is we're gonna wait and see if we can get a breakout to the downside, because price eventually either has to come to this previous resistance, which now is going to become support, or it has to come and make contact with the trend line here at the bottom, right? So to achieve that now, we have to we have to analyze what's going on here. But to analyze here, we have to go into the smaller time frame. So I'm going to use the H1 for this. Now that we're looking at our H1, you only want to focus on what's going on since the market made a peak on the H4, right? So that peak that we made, this is where that peak is at. And then now we're looking at the whole motion here in the H1 time frame. And you can see we don't have enough momentum with the sellers to suggest that this is a bearish market, obviously. But now, like I said, we have to keep our mind open to the fact that the price might go to a previous resistance and use that as support before we eventually rebound back up. So because of that fact, we need to like establish the fact that we might see bearish momentum kick in but now we need a signal before we can like sell. We need a signal before we can sell. So for that signal, we're gonna analyze this motion here. So I can see that we're having lows, right? We're having lows, and we're having even lows in the smaller time frames. I'm sure this would make more sense in the smaller time frames, but we're just seeing this choppy movement here. So we can draw a trend line like this and see if it joins, right? So our trend line now is gonna look like this. All right, so basically this means that this line is carrying the whole correction that is happening here. But now I'm looking at the highs, right? And I can see that the highs are also getting higher. So the lows are getting higher and the highs are getting higher. So let's see if we can draw a trend line starting from this low right here, connect it with this high, and see if it will still connect with this high, right? All right, you see now, fam. So this is what we end up having as our end result, right? So now what are we waiting for? We're waiting to see when the price, we're waiting to see when the price might break out of this lower trend line. Then now we're gonna sell into strength, right? But if we don't, and the price actually breaks out on the upside, then we're gonna buy, obviously, right? So the thing now is you have to wait, because just because we established this ascending channel here, it doesn't mean that automatically when the price gets here it's gonna break out to the downside. You have to actually wait and see a candlestick close, right? Because candlesticks tend to fake you out the way it did here, and you might sell here only for the candlestick to close here and incur you heavy losses. So you actually have to wait for the price to actually close below, and what will end up happening is the price will then go lower. And then if we actually zoom out now, right, we might go back to this trend line here that we draw in the first place. So that's the thing, guys. We need to look at this from the H4 time frame and wait for a breakout on the H1, because remember, H4 time frame is great for analyzing and looking for setups, but the H1 I feel is more accurate now when you're opening your entries. So look at this. This is a very easy chart, and I feel like this is going to be easy money for everybody. So you know what, you want to analyze this one and keep an eye on it, right? All right, let's go to the next one. All right, fam. So the second most promising pair that I have on my watch list is the USD ZAR, right? I've analyzed this pair a long time ago, right? There are opportunities here. If this is your first time here, I'm just gonna go over what's going on with the price real quick so you catch up with everybody else. So we had our main trend line here. This is our main trend line. To get the main trend line, we have to connect the first low, the first high, and the second lower high, right? Because this is a downtrend. So once we connected those, we established a main trend line, but then the price was moving away from the trend line. So now we connected this second high, and then we also connected it with this wick, and that's how we got the secondary trend line, right? So the secondary trend line is only valid until the price breaks it. So once the price breaks it, like it did here, it means that now we have to go back to the main trend line and look at this from a main trend line perspective, right? So we know that what's actually going on here. I'm just gonna move the support resistance zone further here, and then so what's going on here, if we go to the H4, so what's going on here is price is steadily making its way up to the main trend line, right? So before the price makes its way up eventually to the trend line, expect to see a retest, right? I don't think the price is just gonna go up there without testing this zone that we made, this zone that it recently broke out of, right? And we didn't really test this support resistance zone, because now it's only 10 support now. So what I'm actually looking forward to with this one is I'm looking forward to the price going back to the support zone in the H1. Let's look at it in the H1 so I can show you how it's gonna look. This is basically the current high that the market is at, and I think the price is gonna come to this support zone right there, right? And then once we get there, depending on how we react, you guys know how a retest is. I've made a video on that. You can look it up on my video history. So if we get back to this trend line here, not to the trend line, if we get back to the support zone here and we see a rejection, that can be in the form of a hammer or pin bar candlestick formation, then you know that the price is gonna go bullish. That's where you're gonna enter into strength. And then in the H4 now, right, that's where now we're gonna see the price start to shoot up to the expect the price to go to the back to the main trend line, right? So the overall movement that we're expecting is somewhat like this, right? We're expecting to see the price drop back to the support zone, and then once we see a rejection there, right, so that's when we can actually take advantage, because with the USDs it really tends to get volatile, meaning that the candlestick do travel, right? So this distance that you're seeing here is really nothing now when you're looking into the USDs. And the thing about the USDs is you don't need a ridiculous amount of lot size to make the most amount of money. So it's kind of like when you're trading gold also, you don't need the most ridiculous lot size to capitalize on that opportunity. So this one is definitely one you want to keep your eyes on, guys. Keep your eyes on this one, right? So let's go to the last chart that I have for you guys. So the last chart that I have for you guys is the USD JPY. I've been bringing up USD JPY because trust me, there's so much money to be made here, it doesn't even make sense, right? So looking at last month, we're looking at this from a top-down analysis point of view, right? So last month's candlestick did it really, at some point this was very, very bearish, right? But then with this close, I feel like we're gonna move back into the correctional phase that we had here, because this with so much strength, and then we didn't really close. I can't really say we closed outside of the trend line, because it's just there on the trend line, and we need another confirmation candlestick for us to go there. And so far it's not looking good for the sellers. Let me show you on the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, you can clearly see that this is where we had our breakout, and then we had this bullish spike right there. And then we managed to move back into the trend line. Then we had these 3 bearish candlesticks, right? And with just one candlestick, we had covered them back up again. So it's showing that as much as sellers can try to push the price down, buyers can easily, with just one candlestick, recover all those losses that the sellers thought they were making on the buyers. So now, how do we trade this? What do we do? Because as much as we understand what's going on, the most important thing about this is actually understanding what you have to do. So now we're gonna go to the H4 time frame. What we can see now by looking at the H4, all right, I looked at the H1 and really, like, it's just taking up more space, and it's really showing me even the unnecessary things. So I feel like now that I've seen all the time frames, the best one to actually look for entries is the H4, right? We're gonna draw a trend line real quick. So now our trend line looks like this, right? Our trend line looks like this, and then we're also gonna, and this trend line, by the way, guys, I'm only drawing it because we can see the highs are getting lower. So every time your highs or your lows are going in the same direction, draw a trend line to see if the relationship links and then translate to a trend line, right? So now what we're gonna do, I'm seeing this low right here. I'm gonna connect it with this resistance, because this is support, but at this point this was a resistance, So I'm gonna connect this resistance with this support. So now this is what we end up having in the H4 time frame, right? So the thing is, I know, right, this, because of the analogy I just explained while we're still looking at the daily time frame or the higher time frames, I told you the buyers are way stronger than the sellers. So expect this. So expect this to break out to the upside, right? And if it does break up to the upside, only look to buy into strength, right? And then what we're gonna end up having is, I want to see the price actually go up, right? Actually go up. Maybe we might reach the higher trend line that we drew, or at least the minimum to see is this resistance zone that we have here at the top. So now the price is at 105.7, and then that point was 107.3. So that's like 1,000 something pips. So that's enough. Even if you don't make it to the the trend line that we draw at the top, but the mere fact that we can make it to this resistance zone is enough. So look to capitalize on this movement, right? And basically this is it for this analysis video, guys. I should have uploaded it earlier, but there wasn't enough time for me to do that because of where I was at. So I'm uploading this in the morning. Just take what you can from this one, and then let's make money all week. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one.